先介绍一下娄教授好了，对，然后就是我们就今天就先就是正式开始这样子，然后我会先介绍一下娄教授的一些经历，对，就是他是台湾人，对，就是他虽然他在美国应该待很久了，然后他是出生在台湾的云林，然后他1975年的时候他毕业于成功大学物理系，对，然后这边可能有一些是成功大学的学弟妹这样子。然后他在1986年的时候，他获得洛杉矶加州大学的医学的物理博士，然后之后他是在飞利浦的医学医疗仪器，然后的核磁共振照相仪跟电脑断层照相仪，然后任科学家这样子。然后1987年就是在乔治城大学，然后担任就是影像科跟肿瘤科的影像资讯中心的主任教授、副教授跟教授，对。然后我觉得最重要就是他在那段期间，他就是首次他就是自己就是发明出来，虽然就是深度学习的卷积神经网络，对。然后他是在1993年，他其实就已经发了第一篇 paper， 然后已经用了这个 term 这样子，然后对，然后我觉得这是以台湾人来讲，就是他其实这样还蛮难得的，对。而且他就是一直在这方面，其实一直有在做相关的研究，然后包括说他也是把就是小波跟就是 CN 去做结合，就发明有小波的卷积神经网络，然后还有环状式的卷积神经网络这样子。然后那之后他其实也是之后也是跟工业界去做合作，然后他也是跟就是美国的就是食药署，然后就是有发明很多的医学的人工智慧的产品这样子，然后包括说你可以删除血管影像的胸腔电脑断层，然后跟删除骨骼影像的胸腔的一个 X 光的一个研究这样子。然后所以说就是他之前做很多的东西这样子，然后他今天主要就是要跟我们分享是他一开始就是 CN 的一些事情这样子，然后他应该会主要是以英文来跟大家讲，然后这就是之后就是我会把这个 record 就是会放到 YouTube 上面，然后也是会写一篇就是报道，就是介绍他这样子，然后所以说如果说英文没有跟上其实也没关系。然后娄教授他其实也就是很勇于，就是希望说大家可以多多提问，然后他都会很希望可以跟我们年轻一辈的交流互动。那之后就把时间交给娄教授。好，那就 please start。
大家好，大家好。我本来想全程用英文，看起来大家都讲中文，我就不好意思，把我的破英文也拿出来讲。其实我们在美国那么多年，有时候英文有时候见了中国脸孔，讲起话来，讲起那个自然的脑筋里面那根神经，就讲不出很好的英文，你知道吗？所以无所谓。我想正式我们在谈这个神经网络啊，或者是这个科学的问题的时候，我们再用英文好了。那现在是自我介绍的部分的话，我还是用中文跟大家问好，跟大家问安。那我刚才就已经提到了我在就是说大概的我的简历。那稍微很快的再跟大家讲一下子，就是说当初1989年Nikon 提出来的那篇 paper 里面的那个是当然是 historical 很棒，最主要的第一篇 paper。但是我们事实上他那个也是发表，大家都不知道，大家事实上都是跟 Neo-Konichon 这个是福库西玛这个 professor 所发表的那个 Neo-Konichon 从那个地方发展出来的。那么 Neo-Konichon 是跟这个是用另外一篇 paper， 等一下我是关于那个在脑神经里面的辨识的视神经辨识的方法。Neo-Konichon 用 complex cell 跟 simple cell 把它这个简单的也不是简单的，就是把那个用 computer 来 simulate 它怎么弄。所以我们大家都是基本上跟1980年代的那个 Neo-Konichon 学的。所以在这个基础上头，我们今天你看已经那么多年了，大家突然觉得这个东西很好，其实我们当初很早就知道很好，只是我们大声疾呼也没人理我们。 所以很孤单一阵子，将近10来年都很孤单。那我看大家都没有什么兴趣嘛，我后来刚刚就提到，我事实上是第一个发表这个 Wavelet convolution neural network 的人，我第一个发表 circular path convolution neural network 的人，这个是毫无问题，因为 paper 就在那里。那事实上，后来看到大家都不太怎么理我们，我们也就沉寂了一阵子。所以我就去搞这个，做我是 medical physics 啊，我得去做我 medical physics 正事啊，所以我去发展这个肺癌筛检，到产出产品来之后去发展到各个医院去宣导怎么做肺癌筛检。那么我也是等于是临床实验肺癌筛检怎么样把产品做到这个从实验室到工业界合作，到这个 FDA 通过 ，FDA 通过里面的这些临床实验的做法，那么我做了10来个，所以大概没有人跟我比了。就是说在AI 怎么样把它弄成产品这一块。那么我因为在 oncology 跟radiology 跟 oncology 有25年，所以你叫人家去卖这个 AI 的产品，这个他们都摇摇头。但是我能够讲2边的 language， 所以我对医生的 convince 的能力也比较高一点，所以我也到处去宣导。那么我在美国、在台湾、在上海、深圳，都巡回演讲了好多的 hospital。这些 event 当然你们都不会知道嘛，但是也就是希望大家能够把我们这个 AI 的产品尽快用在临床上头，已经因为 FDA approve 了嘛，所以每一个环节都是很复杂、很忙、很困难的。现在大家都一窝蜂的想又学回到这个DeepLearning convolution network， 所以我说那我回来跟大家讨论讨论因为我们有一些事实上还有一些理论的问题，我觉得还没有解决，因为在我脑筋里面已经将近20年的，大家没有兴趣，我就不想去讲，不想去发表 paper。现在大家既然有兴趣了，我想我下面几篇比较有理论的 paper 我会发表的。
那就是罗教授之后就是也是会加入我们读书会这样，然后所以说之后也是会有很多就是跟他交流的机会这样子，然后或是说之后他也会有通讯方式，然后也可以这样找他。
Yeah, I just put one of the first my comment in your post. So you can see that there's a comment. Actually, I put all my related convolutional neural network in that post as one of the comment.
呀，你有没有想要吃什么？我要去菜市
哦，对，然后就是如果说就是在罗教授在 present 的时候，然后其他人其实可以关静音这样，然后就比较不会干扰到这样子。好，稍微提醒一下，谢谢。就罗教授就请开始吧。
So what do you want me to start? You want me to start from my early work? So I'll just give an introduction about the start. I think one of the important event I like to introduce, not many people does not know the source, the reason of this convolution and neural network and neocognition. I think that's important things to clarify why people started using convolutional neural network in the early day, particularly Kong and me. Actually, only his group and my group, only 2 groups. But we don't know each other until 1998. So it's almost 10 years later that his first convolution publication, and it's about 5 years after my first publication. So let me introduce that one to you. actually, in 1959, that Hubel and Weiss published a paper in the Journal of Physiology, presented their work about the visual perception study, talking about that how people perceive, recognize image patterns. So it's from your eye retina to lateral geniculate nuclei here. Okay, so that's the first step that the signal passed to this area, and then that particularly location of the brain have a connection to the primary visual cortex called VI. Okay. So the VI processes the signal from the LGN signals, and it's using this kind of I kind of plot this way. Therefore, you can see that is kind of few neurons pass to the visual cortex. Okay, if this is a few of them, and this the image signals already on this LGN cells or nuclei, and then these things, so you can see that is like a signal passed to another nuclei or visual cortex area with neurons or axons. And because it's biological neuron. So biological neuron is not linear, but it's kind of, once you signal pass to another place, if you carry that signal to another place, it kind of times some value with modulations. So in 1980s, about 20 years later, Professor Fukushima at the Tokyo University simulate this process and call it neocognition. So you have this input layer, and this is called simple cell. This is called complex cell layers. So you have that for few layers, and then you start to have some recognition of understanding what this pattern, and by some kind of labeling, and then therefore you realize this kind of pattern is what you understand it. But we don't know what's really going on at that time. Even until now, people don't understand. People don't realize what is really going on, both in convolutional neural network and the signal process in the brain, visual cortex processing. Okay, but we do know that the process is convolution with lots of new networking. That's known, and we computer simulated with convolution. Your image is not correlated in 2 dimension or whatever. Then you don't really need using convolution. You're just using neural network. It will work. So the purpose of convolution is try to decompose and compose, kind of, and then therefore to reach some kind of neuron process and to reach some kind of recognitions. Again, we don't really understand what's really going on until now, even 60 years later.
So, Professor Lo, can I ask the questions?
Sure.
Can you go back to the previous slide? So I saw there's a contrast extraction and edge extraction. So so if they can just change the positions or the layers, I mean, or if the fixed, you should put the first layer would be the contrast extraction, and the second layer is edge extractions.
In the neocognition, they try to explain exactly what this the biological processing does.
Okay.
But the contrast extraction is adjust. You know what I mean? Adjust your contrast. Our eye has that kind of a few area do that kind of thing. For example, your retina is can open more, or that kind of things. Therefore, adjust your light weight, that kind of things. Light source, the intensity. That intensity is part of contrast. That extraction in our simulation, later it become not very that significantly, only in the very first situation. Okay. For some application is necessary, like a recognition of cancer. So I do not put layer there, but I did using average background to subtract the entire image to equivalent this process.
Okay.
So many applications may need it, because sometimes your image is too bright or the contrast is not quite right. So this is kind of preparation steps, as far as I know. But you can put convolution to do that as well if you want to. But make sure that convolution is not high frequency weighted, because that is not appropriate in this step yet.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
So that's the background of the neocognition. So later, I think this kind of convolution everybody knows, so I just skip it. This several slides is just for beginners, so it's not important. So this is the famous paper that Yang Likong published, and then the initial structure is there. If you read this paper, you'll not be able to, maybe somebody's smart, very smart, therefore they can simulate. Actually, but many scientists write paper different way. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying my style of writing papers, I give very detailed steps that you can simulate. But to simulate, to duplicate his work, and that I think lots of people have hard time. Okay, so everybody will read this paper, so I don't need to speak too much. But just want to let you know that at that time, even Professor Fukushima and Likong and many other pattern recognition researchers, they're all using ABCD handwriting and alphabetical or numerical handwriting as their test pattern. Therefore, at that time, the convolution is necessary, may not be. I already tested regular neural network and convolution neural network for this kind of pattern. Just a black and white line structure or graphic structure, and simple. It's not that complicated. You only need regular neural network will do very, very good job. I don't think convolution can beat it. You can try. You will see what choice. Because this don't have too much of correlation information in the near few pixels. So actually, if you're using small pixel in the beginning, you will, I think 5 by 5 that Nikon use is not good for the first one. I think because it depends on digital resolution. If it's 5 to cover about the other area, then it's probably okay. Okay, to correlate the information, adjacent information. But if it takes about 8 pixels, then you probably need to using 9 or 7 to do that. I don't recommend using convolution kernel more than 11. Everybody recognizes that. So 9, 7, 5, 3 become typically used in convolution in the past, including my own research. But again, I want to tell people that it really don't need it, convolution neural network, because the image is not that complicated. The correlation information in the Cartesian coordination, vertically or horizontal, is nearly there. It's there, but not much. Okay. Okay, I skip. This is just, but let's look my applications. So the first 4 rows are non-nodule. I cropped from the chest X-ray. And 5th and 6th is rib crossing. This two row, okay. And there's N-on vessel. N-on vessel means what? In the lung, you have lots of vessels, and some of them is just parallel to your X-ray shooting directions. So they are white spot in the middle. Some people were very confused why this thing is not nodule, not cancer, okay, like that. But they are not. Okay, and you can see some of the cancers is also relatively similar to that. Okay, how about this? How about that? So you really need a trained radiologist to discern this kind of pattern. That is cancer, that is not cancer. And so the difficulties of recognition of the pattern is to a different level. Okay, and this is my research objective: discern them together, to separate them apart. And microcalcification is similar things. Microcalcification is the early sign of breast cancer. If you get a microcalcification of cancer, majority of the case is carcinoma in situ, which is representing first stage breast cancer. And you need to detect them earlier in order to get survive. You have a cancer late stage, the chance of survival is very low.
And Professor Lo, I have a question about the previous slide. So are those the training data set that you are using? I mean, so you sample. Okay, so you use human to make the labels, right?
Yeah. We already have a radiological report and pathological results. Well, I take it back. In some study, we do have a pathology results. In some study, we don't. That depends on situation. I take it back. At the very first study, I don't have a pathological results yet. I only have a radiology results. But in the later study, we do have lots of pathological results in order to guide your neural network much more specifically in terms of clinical outcome. So it becomes the standard, as we call gold standard, or ground truth. The two names is equivalent. And so with that, therefore, you can train your neural network with more specific, with clinical outcome. That's very important. That you cannot just using single radiologist determination to, even they are expert. Typically, we need at least 3 radiologists, expert, to make a ground truth. So, because there are different level of expertise to train your system to be able to use it for all other professionals. That's important. So George just mentioned that in 1993, actually I published the first neural network work in 1992. So you can see, probably we start this kind of things around later 1980 and 1990, because you will see I put lots of technique that today is using, and we already used in that. Okay. For example, data augmentation, and change your activation function when necessary, and softmax. I explained that to you. And we also know that more layers necessary. Neocognition, we say that it takes about 9 layers, 10 layers. And we try to put 9 layers and 10 layers, and then we estimate our training speed using error propagation training. It will take about a month if we put 10 for only one test. Assuming you get succeed. So you won't get succeed in your first try. Definitely it takes about more than 20, 30. So you would just for training, it would take years. It's not possible. So to put 2 layers or 3 layers, it probably takes about 5 days. So even that, we already know. Even at that time, we know we are very patient and let to train for a few days and then get back. And so you can see that to get this kind of paper out with radiology guidance, set up a gold standard, set up all this pattern to train, to test, and develop this, it minimum 2-3 years. Just get one paper out. And this is the one I got it. So I don't have a patience to put this into general paper publication. It will take another 2 years minimum to get published at that time. That's a typical. So I said, let's put it into proceeding first. So later, it proved me, because in 1995, I put almost identical paper to IEEE transaction medical imaging and got published. Actually, I submitted about late in 1993, and then it got published 1995. So that's the reason. Say, Dr.Lo, why put your first paper, and that's important paper in proceeding? No, that's the way I have that kind of problem. I have that issue. And so, although and my paper in IEEE transaction medical imaging is not much different from this paper. So I always use in 1993 to tell people it's the same. And in 1995, we also published a couple of papers using similar method in different disease patterns already. So at the end of the output slides or output layer, we put a falsification there. The reason is radiology, when you don't have a pathological, when you don't have a pathological report, you don't know that's true or not true. So I only have a radiology input. So my doctor, my mentor, clinical mentor told me, Ben, to tell you the truth, my judgment may not be perfect, although I'm very experienced radiologist. So and he's very honest. He's very because radiologists don't have that kind of information to say this nodule is cancer or not cancer, or even sometimes nodule itself is blocked by the ribs. It will have time to figure out this is vessel or this is something else. Okay, likely 85% he's correct, but there's a 5% chance that he may have problem. So he's a very humble person, radiologist, senior. So he gave me a hint. With that, maybe we should using falsification approach to do that. So I put that in there. And if you find my formula and you compare to softmax today used, it's not identical, but it's very close. So we have a softmax equivalence, I wouldn't say. But you don't really need using softmax. You can use like fuzzy logic. You will get about the same result. Sometimes it's better. There's no theory to tell you which filter, what kind of training strategy is the performance the highest or whatever. Because we still, there's no perfect theory to say you should use in what, because lots of work we are doing is all application dependent. So I would not recommend everybody using the same method I use. And don't try to convince me that everything that currently using in the package is the best for my application. You just don't have that kind of information to prove it scientifically. Although you can say, oh, this application is that application is good, that application. But since the data, most of the data we don't have really that big data yet, majority application. And also medical information, medical pattern recognition and other pattern recognition has all different level of difficulties. And so some technique I recognize has its power, but not all of them that currently experienced is any convincing to all people's applications. And this is really a milestone, and you can see that the whole thing has become real now. It's not just recognition of 1, 2, 3 and A, B, C, D. Is in a very, very different level of difficulties that most of people do not get trained for 5 years, 7 years in the medical school. You don't have any precision at all. Okay, that's what I mean. This is really a big milestone paper, although that people do not read it and carefully evaluate or carefully, If you read this paper, I give all the detail. Okay, I got all the details, not like the Nikon's just say, oh, I do this convolution and the backpropagation, that's it. So I go all the details, and so you can simulate, without any problem. And if you are computer science, you follow this formula, you got it. Okay, train the kernel, and that specifically. And lots of people think that the argumentation is developed or suggested later. Actually, in this paper, we already did. And in the rest of my paper, I'll do this kind of thing because, any people will have a shortage of the pattern to train. So this is important. Okay. This is new for many people. In this table, I think maybe George knows a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I saw these figures.
But because it's initial study and it's wavelet kernel. So I invented wavelet convolutional neural network 1995. Again, I spent lots of time. So I don't have the time to put the journal paper. I just published first.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
Has all the detail. So I guide you to do wavelet kernel computation 2-dimensionally. I guide you to do even the pre-calculation steps, how to make it faster, because that kind of things, and steps by steps. Okay. And this, if you're interested, just read this paper. You can simulate it, wavelet. Okay. And even at the end, how do you train your convolution wavelet? Update your filter. And low pass filter, what is that? Even the orthogonality the orthogonality property, or I think in this time we should talk about bi-orthogonal, not the orthogonal, because we always using R number. R number of kernel bi-orthogonal is better term to describe. Okay, so those people understand wavelet, not understand what I'm talking about. Those people do not study wavelet, probably don't understand. Go back to study wavelet. It's its own good feature that, but you probably, if you don't have a sufficient application or specific application, even you implement wavelet kernel, you will find that the result is probably about the same. That's true. Only when the texture information is important. Only, I wouldn't say only, I take it back. I say probably, I should say, because we don't have sufficient experience yet. After this paper, almost minimum 15 years later, there are some people started using wavelet convolutional neural network recently. So it's about 20 years. So let's start to investigate if people are interested. It's its own characteristic because the first, and wavelet has its own, image processing feature that is quite unique and probably important.
Okay. So Professor Luz, can I ask questions?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think there's some people, they know the wavelet transform. It is an advanced version of the Fourier transform, and I think it is very powerful. So how you get this idea to combine the wavelet transform into the neural network, because I think that is a new one. And so the second question is that, so do you think in what kind of situation maybe we need to put the wavelet into the neural network? So how do you think?
In late 1980, 1990, that time, image processing using wavelet is another field that is very hot. So if you read this paper, you find that I got a results is almost no big difference when I apply to recognition of microclassification. But I regretted I probably made mistakes because I used 24 because I only have one layer, and 2 layers will become complicated. Maybe I think probably the first layer I should use in convolution neural, wavelet convolution neural. After that, second layer, you don't really need to. And that's first mistake I made. Second mistake I made is, so I only have one layer, an output. Because this is my first initial study. And nobody responds, nobody cares at that time. Convolution neural network is nobody don't care. Wavelet, what's that? So look, when I use 24 and 60, I shouldn't use 60, I should use 96 at least, because when compared to regular kernel, that you have, for example, you have 5 by 5, right? So your convolution kernel is 5 by 5. It's 25. But wavelet, the real function, because it's orthogonal and it's symmetric. The real kernel that really function is about quarter of that. It's about 6 or 7. So it's only quarter. So because only quarter of that, so I 24 groups of the hidden layer kernel, I should use 96 at least, or at least comparable to see the power from that. So I using 60 as my mistake. I did not calculate. At that time, my design was not quite right. But if I using 96, my results, I think convolution kernel will be, the wavelet kernel will be better, I guess. I need to go back to check, but I think it will be better. And 24 and 60, the performance almost identical. Let me take it back. 24 group without wavelet, just convolution neural network, and 60 groups with wavelet convolution neural network is about identical. Okay, but 24 compared to 60, we're using wavelet convolution networks. 60 is better than 24. Yeah. So you have several comparative results, right? So 24 without wavelet is about equivalent to 60 with wavelet convolution. Because it's only quarter of the network trained, because it's isotropic symmetric. That is also a very interesting paper I'm going to publish. Your recognition P and Q and V, or M and W, or 6 and 9, is different in the alphanumeric pattern recognition. But if this kind of pattern is in graphic or happen in medical imaging, they are identical. 6, 9, same. They are not 6 and 9. This is pattern to be perceived, and you can rotate it. They are identical. I hope people understand what I'm talking about. So your input and output is isotropic, right? You rotate, shift, whatever, it's identical. 6 and 9 is still 6. Say we don't have 9. Let's say we don't have 9. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. You only have 9. Your 9 is 6. With that, your pattern recognition is isotropic. If your input and output is isotropic, how about your internal processing? You should guide it isotropic, right? Therefore, you don't need lots and lots of energy for that. It already isotropic in a sense. I hope I inspire you guys. Okay, Wavelet has that kind of things. Okay, so you don't need to waste lots of training source. You literally for 2 dimensions you waste 4 times. Although you know that kind of thing. Maybe not waste, but at least with some kind of you spend some energy that it shouldn't. You probably don't need to. Maybe not 4, maybe few 20%, 40%. I'm not sure because Wavelets because the convolution has its decomposition and composition pattern that you can adjust very well internally. But if you guide it, you know, specifically, it takes. Yeah, it takes. Yeah. So that's I hope you don't regret to come to this meeting. I think I give lots of people inspirations. Okay, so that's the things. And then if you know Wavelet, you just follow my paper, or don't need to know my paper. Some people just get Wavelet kernel. I can do it. Then you just process. Go back to George knows my story a little bit. Most of people don't know. In the old day and even now, the professors don't program, don't touch, don't coding, don't do coding. I'm one of exceptional ones, because I'm the person that once I have idea, I want to get the results next hour or tomorrow. So I kind of push my project very hard. So I do that kind of things. So once you have, I cannot sleep. Once I have an idea, I cannot sleep. So I come out midnight and program it. So
yeah, but you need 3 or 4 days to train your model. So you cannot get the results tomorrow.
Sure. But if I don't do that, I will postpone it further. The whole project postponed further. So I do auto programming. You probably don't believe it. I even program FFT, DCT. Some people know what I mean by DCT, discrete cosine transform. Machine language, not C, because I have lots of things doing image processing, and FFT and DCT is very important for my core calculations. And so I just do it, and then so you can see that it's important even now for almost a computer science, and people try to learn a convolution or deep learning and machine learning. If you're just using package, you will lose lots of, you waste your talent. Okay, let me tell you, you really will undermine lots of your talent, and you just, your brain is bounded by the package. It is useful to have the package to help you, but you really need to have your own package yourself, or at least some basic ones. And then even it's slow, but you need to give it a try when you want to change it. For example, I don't know, George, tell me, can you use Wavelet kernel in the current package? You can. Well, maybe you need to write a small code and replace a couple of them, right? Okay, that's good. That means you already know how to do it and do well. Yeah. But lots of people just plug in and then using that package itself, the high level language, and then it's get a result. It's very happy because most of the results are very reasonable good. And you don't know this optimal way. You just give up. Not give up. I shouldn't say give up. You just don't know there's an optimal way of doing it, or you have a better way of doing it. So I recommend any people who is interested in machine learning that you need to have your hand on. I'm one of good examples, and I do that. On the other hand, I know my limitations. So therefore, I collaborate with my industry partner early days. Because I know my coding will not become a clinical use for software. That's just not possible. Yeah, my coding is only good for research. It's okay to inspire myself, but coding to put into the clinical, takes lots of effort and profession. So in all day I already know. So I collaborate with my industrial partner in early 1990 also. So almost everything is about the same time that I do this kind of things, collaboration with industrial partner, all about early 1990s. Okay. Anybody have questions? Let me put this aside. I do have other things to talk about it. But I'd like to stop here a little bit because I feel I'm only doing one-man show, so which can only answer what I feel in the early days.
Yeah, I think not everyone there was familiar with, for example, wavelet transforms. So because if they are not doing the imaging process or the signal transduction, they may not know what is the wavelet transform. So maybe they will need some time to read the papers, and maybe they can get some.
Okay, then come back to asking me questions.
Yeah,
I told George that I work with graduate students for also 25 years. So I like to work with graduate students. And right now, I don't have my lab right now because I was trying to retire. And all of a sudden, I feel, hey, maybe I can do more, so I come back. George knows a little bit of the story. And I still did not give up my lung cancer, breast cancer work. And they still need me. And so about 10 years, I work more on that directions. And now I think it's time for me to come back to the theoretical development for machine learning, that kind of things, which I think I can contribute a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is a good idea.
Yeah. How much time we have left?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So in most of the case, maybe we'll have 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 more minutes.
Yeah. So maybe I can ask some questions because
sure.
because you do many CN-related research, and maybe 20 years ago, but right now there is some new theory. For example, right now we talk about the deep learning, so maybe we have a CN that we have maybe 100 layers. So what do you think that if a neural network and it contains 100 layers, so what do you think?
Hold on, let me come back here. I think we have all the components in the early days, almost all. I would not say 100%, I would say close to 90%. Only 10% is recently added. Okay. And some of that, even some of that 10% is also application dependent. So the era of deep learning, machine learning could come 20, 25 years earlier. It's really that. You say, I complain that my computer is not fast enough. Actually, even now, people still feel that their computer is not enough. Therefore, there's an introduction of GPU used. And they are not very expensive, and encourage people to start to use them. But if people pay attention to our work and say, this is the way to go, and because they are simulating our eye perceptions, it's quite powerful. And then NIH or NSF put more money in and people jump in more. The machine learning will come 20, 25 years early because simply it just parallel computing will do it. Or some kind of a little bit better chip will do it. Because we all using, at that time, we all using lab computers, not the top of the notch computer. And then you put 10 layers, no problem to train a few days. And then you got once you have a good results and you have a sufficient training case, you will be able to develop product. So I don't agree, I disagree. People say, oh, at that time people cannot do this kind of multi-layer. 20 layer, I think probably good enough for almost all the application. 152 is exaggerated. It's probably useful for very few situations. A majority of job will be done 10 to 20 layer. And if you're using convolution or isotropic characteristics, it was probably reduce the computation power by a factor of 2 or 3. So people just did not realize that this thing is powerful. And only Nikon and I in 2 different fields and just Yale until recently, until probably 2010 and that kind of things. And people start get hot. And really flies because the event of the AlphaGo. And recently this self-driving car also started using these things. People have realized that too. So it's because right now people chasing this more layer and call it deep learning, and I think there's a limitation and waste, and lots of waste. You just try to impress people. They don't, if they say I use 20 I get this results. I use 152, I got this results. If significant, okay, in our field, in our medical field, we all call statistics significant results, statistics significant difference. That will convince me. Otherwise, it just show. So, but the problem is that the leader, several leader in this field right now, is talking about this kind of advocate more layer, more layer, more layer. I know some people disagree, but looks like it just make people excited and try to do that without too much of algorithm improvement. That's a sad. Okay, so I don't blame them because the computer science professor want to publish paper just like everybody else. So you need to find out this professor or this people is trying to publish paper or is really trying to impact the technology. You need to have that. You need to make that smart understanding. Don't get excited by their minute. Well, our computer is getting faster. Eventually this thing can get to 1,000 layers. But what you mentioned?
I think, okay, so I think I have 2 more questions, so then I will just give the chance to others. So the first question is that because we know that the deep learning, they can apply, or CNN, they can apply to many fields. So what do you think that medical imaging, and I think that is, you are the expert for this, so are there any difference between maybe the medical images to others? For example, the other fields, are there any special point for this? And the second question is that in this week, and one of the leader of the AI, and he said that maybe we don't need the back propagations, because we know that the back propagation is a ways we can to update our weight, but he think maybe we need to change another way to do that. So do you have any ideas about this? Because he think it is not a good, it is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he thinking maybe there's another way to do this. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let me answer the second question first. I think it's important to have that kind of intention to change our training way of using error propagation, which is starting from 1986 at Rumor. But you cannot just say without proving, without providing. Okay, everybody tried it. He say, or somebody say, meaningful because he probably, have some other exposition to say. And try to inspire people. That I appreciate. But look, how many people right now try to use this technique, and how many smart people to dig into this in double department, in computer science, math, professors, okay? We all know the technique of training neural network, not only convolutional neural network, training the neural network. Majority of the research and development and application or error propagation. I'm not saying I hate error propagation. I kind of say it's time to find another way. Yes. But I will not say too loud until I have idea. If these people try just inspire people, to encourage people, I agree. I also would like to encourage. But if these people just say it's kind of empty words, I feel it's empty words. So far, we don't have anything better than error propagation. Okay, with that, it actually, I don't know, it's too simple of the case, so I try to give an example, but I think I changed my mind now. Let me answer the second questions. In the medical, try to find that is disease pattern or non-disease pattern takes lots of training to human beings, and they are usually very smart. You get to the medical school and get this training and get that training, and you know how much they miss? They miss 30% lung cancer. Then you know how difficult it is. Let me repeat it. These people get to the medical school, train for 6-7 years, experience in clinically 10 years average. They miss 30% of lung cancer in CT, miss 40 to 50 lung cancer in chest X-ray. The reason they miss that is because the culture, the normal structure that overlap with the disease patterns. Okay, so we in the early day, I just give one example. Go there to find a high intensity area and start to train neurology to discern this is cancer or not cancer. That approach, get the results is even worse than regular radiology. Its performance is better than you guys, okay? That convolution process detection, definitely better than, even you learn about 1 year of how to read the cancer, that convolution layer will beat you about 1 year. If you learn how to read these things. But you cannot beat the radiologist. So medical image pattern recognition is important to understand how radiology expert read these things. So expert need to know where is rib, where is heart, where is vessel that running from where to where. Okay, is 3D? Is this vessel connected to each other, slice by slice? So you need to train your neural network or machine system to recognize not only disease pattern, but also normal structures. Otherwise, you're not going to, and the precision is very high. Otherwise, you are not going to help radiology or professional because they don't need your help. Your system come to bother them because your detection is going to be lousy. You're going to be bothered. Here is the cancer. Here's the cancer. Too much of false positive. We have that kind of product. I told you that we passed the FDA 12 of the first 6, about half. It's a waste. It's just not waste. It's just useless. It's our learning steps. So anybody want to jump in, you will learn that kind of things. You better learn from us, not our mistakes. So don't develop that kind of medical imaging, okay? AI is used. Radiology won't use it. You pass FDA, it still don't work. So even when you pass FDA, some of the product doesn't work. for them. They just say, you can't bother me. You want to go to sales. So it's much more sophisticated. Okay. I could say this. I think the only AI that really meaningful that can compare to our medical imaging is only AlphaGo. It's only AlphaGo. Okay, so our AI already like AlphaGo, that kind of level. And we have several of them. And the reason AlphaGo is so famous that we don't that famous because we apply to medical. And only medical doctors appreciate. And even they appreciate, you cannot appreciate it. You want to show them one by one. We don't have a publicity to make it to know everybody excited. And I'm talking about everybody, is every radiologist, every doctor. So it's different publicity phenomena. So think carefully that how many these people train. It's like a professional goal that they are championship. So that kind of level. So you need to beat that level. You need to beat expert in reading chest X-ray, reading. Therefore, they were happy to use your product. So if people reiterate our footstep, you will miss 20 years to get our stage. So you better learn from us.
Okay, so thank you for the answer. So are there now other people they want to ask questions?
Let me repeat it.
Okay.
You guys started probably a few years ago, right? I started 25 years ago, earlier than you. So I keep doing this for 25 just because you guys don't know. That's all. So I done this kind of thing 25 years ago. If that you only do 3 years, it's a big difference. Although the principle is the same, and the learning things is one key important thing is you cannot just using convolutional neural network and achieve the optimal results. Try to achieve. You are happy to get your results right now. Everybody got happy because you find convolutional neural really have good results. Yes, we are happy with our own results and produce the several medical product. Same, but it's not optimal. There are lots to do in order to get your optimal. Some of the job is easy, yes, that probably okay. But you want to be really professional and replace their work, intend to replace their work or help them work. At this time, I still say we only try to help, not to replace them. There's no way to replace them. I'm talking about radiologists, expert radiologists. So it's there. So there are lots of things to learn. And AlphaGo is a very good example. I want to say, because it's there, people understand. So it's easier for me to explain. So AlphaGo not only using convolutional neural network, you're also using Monte Carlo and statistical model and probability to each step he already know the next few steps. So you will not be able to beat him. And you learn so much of the goal samples and learn from your mistake and learn from all that kind of thing. So he has all the learning back to power his way. So it is important to collaborate, to ensemble your method step by step. Don't try once. You need to know, okay, let me try this, let me try that. Can we ensemble several techniques together and design that? If go put everything in the convolutional network, plug in, plug out. I think it will not have that good performance. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
okay, yeah. So, any other questions?
yep. Winston, you have questions? I know you have a lot of experience.
I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to the academia. I mostly use convolutional or like other AI technique to build products. So I'm actually on the lowest level of application. But there are a lot of things to do from all this like research. So I'm trying to keep up with all the like stuff that you guys have been talking about. That's pretty amazing. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I think other people, they are shy to just to ask questions using English. So, but sometimes they will just forward questions to me. So maybe I can just collect some questions and maybe I can forward to the professors, and then we can discuss about that part. And then I can just write a newsletters about this. So how do you think? Yep.
That would be nice. But I do have one question, a very stupid one. I kind of ashamed of asking it, but here you
go. No, there's nothing stupid.
So if you don't use backpropagation, what are the best alternatives? Like what else can work?
I did not get your question.
So I think George talked about like ignoring backpropagation, right? We don't use backpropagation anymore. Like what are the best alternatives?
I also give a thought for a long time. I think I kind of empty until now. But I do have some clue a little bit. Still cannot ignore error propagation is the reasoning, explainable networking, explainable machine learning approach. And then let me try this one. I like to introduce a little bit different idea, which I also at that time I have all idea. You know, my grandson one time saw me do this kind of things, and he said, "Yeah, why your Lego building block have a thread? Can I buy a Lego with thread?" And I say, the Lego says my toy need to be trained, and this, if the train get converged, it can be used for cancer diagnosis. And he said, you mean this Lego is doctor? So you know, this picture remind me. That's the picture he was talking about. So I just want to bring that small story to talk to you. So it is a building blocks that you can play, and you can play well, you can play lousy. Everybody, and most of the time you play, you feel satisfactory because you got pretty good results. You know, if you experience, no experience. But I don't have an answer for real replace the error propagation. But explainable reason or AI system is probably the way to go that directions. And the very first step, I think, try to figure out how this thing work and why it work is important to stop everybody's question. Can we replace error propagation or other way to train convolutional neural network or other neural network? If we don't understand this and try to figure out, I think at this moment we don't have much clue. But this is slightly potential clue, is try to figure out why it works, why this black box, this kernel works, why it's trained this way. And one of the idea I have is you have your dual output. This output doesn't necessarily to be in the very last layer. Let me repeat it. The second output that is for you figure out your feature that you intend to understand. Okay, and that feature you need to still have, because we are still doing supervised, so you need to take some work. For example, you want to recognize cat, and you want to recognize dog. In case dog has a long nose, cat doesn't have, and you need to figure out how to put that feature into one of this layer, and then doesn't be final layer. Okay, and try to see potentially which hidden layer have that kind of information to compose to become that kind of feature. Okay, and then try to use that as one of another target with output. Whether that target feature image or feature something, I would recommend it because it's in there. So most likely it will be a matrix or target image or feature target image. That feature target image doesn't have to be propagate. Okay, you can just forward. Doesn't have to be propagate. And try to compare your results and your target and see how much difference, how big a difference. Are they getting closer? If we do this, we do that. Okay, so that takes the research. That I think that's why I encourage people to have your own code. If you don't, using package is getting difficulty. Maybe okay, somebody skillful in it. But if you have your own package, you know exactly where you can insert immediately. Okay, so you will fasten your. So that's I hope it's another inspiration to you guys. So it's still because it's a building block. Okay, everybody, it's your Lego. So you spend more time to your Lego, you will find that this Lego is interesting. You want to play more, and you want to figure out why your Legos as internal learning block bars is this and that. And don't just complain. You also need to complain your brain why your brain processes this way. If you complain to your convolutional neural network, but we as a scientist. As a science, this is a science. You and I have the obligation to figure it out and improve it. Okay? So I don't mean this is the only way, but this is the current, early day I already have thought. Actually, I exhausted my early days thought in first few years. And later I jump into my lung cancer screening project. Okay, I think our time is almost there. So let me quickly give an example. I think next time I talk about a circular path convolutional neural network. Probably today is we have too much already. I inspire you too much, and maybe next time we talk about that. I like to give example because I speak very big, right? I say, well, we do this, you guys, it's almost like the level of AlphaGo.
Yeah.
And some people probably not convinced. Let me give you an example and try to convince you. See, I can convince you guys that the work we do is almost as good as AlphaGo's. Okay, here is a chest X-ray. It has a cancer. Okay, we test about 12 radiologists. 3 radiologists miss this cancer. So this is not very difficult. Although, so 9 of them find it. So this is not very difficult. Okay, so still 3 of them missed it, right? That means it has 43% miss this cancer. And cancer is like, small little spot, and that's brighter. So I already told you that the radiology processing by, where is this rib, where is this vessel, and where's the area, and where's the potential disease. So their eyes try to filter out, what is this, what is it? They actually filter, but without really image processing filter. Is in the concept of filter. Okay. They are same image. So after I take out the rib, after I take out X-ray scattering, so it takes two type of filter. One type filter is structure filter. Okay, that's in radiology mind. I did that. We provide these things. Is you are in conceptually filter. I give you the real filter. Also, there's an X-ray scattering. So we also take our X-ray scattering. We make it blur. So this nodule is here. It actually is a cancer. It's not only cancer, it's already invasive cancer. Usually the cancer area is about this kind of size, and it's about this kind of fuzzy area. With a fuzzy area of this kind of thing, that means this cancer already infiltrated. Probably you don't know this term. Infiltration means the cancer already not in the confined in situ area. It's already there. So it's infiltrated. Is invasive carcinoma, invasive cancer already. So if you only see this, 9 radiologists detect, right? But they don't know this invasive, or they don't have that information. By giving this, although that 9 radiologists detected, 3 missed it. By doing this image, give additional information. This patient already have invasive cancer. So how much information we give? It's not only detect lung cancer, but also the cancer already invasive. Very convincing. Okay, that's what I mean by we can do that. Look carefully. If you take out a rib, using all your imagination, I take out the rib without hurting the lung texture and vessels. You cannot even think about it. It doesn't even have idea you want to do that. But I'm medical imaging physicist. I know I can do it. And I try to do it and persistent and it complete. So even have you guys to come to our field and say, hey, I can help you, I can do this, I can do that. You just don't have any idea. you really get into medical imaging field to understand the whole, how this thing made, how this thing can be processed potentially, how this thing can be improved to help radiologists. Okay, so if you want to you want to get into medical imaging or medical AI, you have to collaborate with experts. You need to form this. So in many countries, Korea, Taiwan, they all try to jump into medical. I say, wait a second, you really need to get experts to form the team in order to really produce a good product. Otherwise, your product will be useless and you waste lots of time. Nobody's going to use it. That's the reason. Okay, so this is an example. Nobody using, George, I know my time is about right, but this is very last example, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
If people are interested, I'd like to talk a little bit more. Okay. This case, again, is a cancer. Don't even think you can find where is the cancer. And this is when radiology, this crop from 180 slice. When you scan all your chest X-ray with CT, slice by slice, this is your lung, this is your, and this is the top area of the heart. Okay, and this is the lung area. So the image slice by slice getting down. So this is in the middle of the lung slice, and this lung slice contains cancer. We test the radiologists. Only one is not nobody, okay? Because they all trained so many years and had lots of experience. They do have some of them really good. One radiologist, 12 radiologists, okay? Total, we test 12 radiologists. One radiologist find it. Just a basis. So we learned this from radiologists. In their mind, they try to figure out where is a vessel they connect. For example, this dots connect this dots, right? Because once you superimpose, there's another dots here. So this is an end-on vessel. You need to put your mind to 3 dimensions of this. Okay, and then you have lots of vessels. Imagine that. You have 180, and your eye need to keep on where is vessel, from where to where and where. It's multiple vessels. You put all the vessels together, it's 1 mile. Visible vessel put together is 1 mile long. Very tired, even expert to read this kind of things. Very tired, and they are normal. They are not disease, but their brain needs to train to do these things. So once your neural network trained to get all the vessel out, all 12 radiology find this cancer. Doesn't even need the radiology. You guys know where is that? Because this is take our vessel and this thing left. What does that mean? Disease pattern, right? So I do not blow up that that our AI is relative about it. It's if not quite the AlphaGo, it's not about that level of AI level. So that's why we can help experts.
Yeah. So I think this is very amazing. So because it can help everyone, they can just to see.
So I'm not only just one of the early pioneer in convolutional neural network. I really implemented, collaborate with industrial, make a real useful product, FDA approval several times, and then first 6 AI doesn't work. So I have all that kind of experience. I know how to get this thing well. And I'm only a medical physicist, and most of you guys are computer scientists. Okay, so it's interesting. So a few years ago, I already jumped into this kind of lung cancer things. So I was put all my energy in that because lots of people die in lung cancer, breast cancer, and all kinds of things. They really need this kind of thing to help. Imagine that. People miss this cancer 30% in average. With this kind of help, they will help them clinically. So it's very important. So I did not regret. I did not. I put all my energy this 10 years in that area and help doctor have this kind of product. And they are starting to use them right now. The last product is approved last year. So still lots of things to push for them to use in clinical.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Professor Lu. And because of the time consuming, so I only choose one question because one of the audience, he has a questions.
Sure.
So he said that what are some applications of existing technique that haven't been explored extensively and can be useful?
I did not quite get what do you mean? What else of the technique need to be explored? I did not get that question.
I think maybe he want to ask is that maybe we have such kind of CNN technique and some related technique. So and it can.
What else technique can be used?
Or maybe it can apply because it can apply to many fields we know, but there are many other fields maybe we can apply to those fields.
I think this question probably asks the wrong person because I'm too much concentrate on the medical. And that's the reason I come to learn from you guys. Actually, that question is for me. So I understand that I only applied to medical, and I realized several of the areas start to use it scientifically. And also engineering section, even in the robot, and many places, even drug discovery, they started using now. And some of the drug discovery really don't need convolution neural network. You probably only need the neural network. But some of the gene processing probably need only about one dimension convolution neural network. And so there are applications there. And you guys have several video I already review them. And they really inspire me in several areas to apply to. I forget several of them, but I still remember a couple of them. Lots of people make recognition, but I think all the image relate work is more powerful. Like a segmentation, convolutional. On the early day, actually, I told those people we are not only publishing application, but also theory. And in those applications, we try segmentation, we try detection, we try final determination from radiologist determination of this is cancer or not cancer, or it's just a nodule, that kind of things. So the intention I come to this Dosudo is I want to learn how this thing apply to other area. So you ask me that my question. Ask you. So I'm not that broad. I'm learning from you. But remember, medical is big industry. In the future, if you carefully to calculate your GDP, medical probably will almost take 1/3, if not 1/3 is 1/4 of all the GDP. Particularly human being getting older, particularly if our medicine shift from disease and cure to preventive. Preventive medicine require prediction and screening and prevention, that kind of thing. And then the AI become much more important. If you still practice medicine with, you have disease and you go to see doctor, then probably you don't need AI. Because you got disease and you have a symptom, and people, you already know where is that, then you just look at that. An image already show there, oh, something wrong, okay? Even that, you will try very hard to find out why. So one way or another, they find you what's the cause of your disease. But prevention is not. Prevention is big data. You don't know when it's coming, what time is coming. So you need to lots of prediction and learning. That is what will give us much safer life. So the current medicine products is, I wouldn't say incorrect, but I would say could be obsolete if AI move in. And we need to train more people in AI in medicine, like people like me. Therefore, that kind of new era of prevention medicine to us is coming. Otherwise, we still live into, you got disease, then try to find a solution, the cure. Okay, so the medicine part, if we move to the prevention and early detection, that kind of medicine. People think this is going to be very expensive. No, if you develop AI well, it's not going to. But if you're not doing AI, it's going to be very expensive, true. So even Ma Yun have that kind of prediction. I don't know where he got this kind of good idea. He's a businessman. But he said that in the future, I did not learn from this, okay? But I know this kind of thing a long time ago. But his speech matched to what I thought. You know, I don't know you guys know what I'm talking about. Ma Yun. He said the future medicine, future health is one of the big industrial coming. And AI is going to play an important role. Oh, I'm shocked. Imagine how idea. It's just a businessman. But you need to train people like me. More. I'm too few. Okay? So welcome you to come to this field. The issue is too many computer scientists. Okay, do similar things. You don't need it. You need a spread to really area to invent. So you need to put your manpower to right place. If we want to do preventive medicine, okay, and that is very important for our future life or our next generation. Maybe people in the 20, 30, 40 probably be able to catch it. Okay, people from 60 like me probably cannot catch it. But you need to develop this thing for the future. Yeah. So that's a big area to invent. I think I'd like to learn from other experts in other area to listen to their point. What other area be able to explore? But let me tell you, really, medical is empty. AI. I wouldn't say empty. It's still in a very infancy. Actually, most of the field is still in infancy. Play AlphaGo or play Go doesn't make a GPT good, okay? But you play medical imaging, your GDP will booming.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point. So I think I will go back to the Chinese mode.
Okay.
所以感谢那个教授今天给我们那么多的，就是启发这样子，然后有很多的事情要跟我们分享，然后之后教授也是会加入我们读书度，然后所以说有什么问题，其实到时候也可以就是跟他一起讨论，无论是跟 medical 就是医疗影像有关或其他部分，其实都可以跟教授讨论这样子。然后之后我也会把就是今天的内容就是会写成一个专访这样子，然后会 post 出来，就是可能有些地方大家没有听那么仔细，可是之后可以去看那个专访，然后就是会比较知道说教授在讲什么这样子。对，
有点可惜，如果大家不要走的话，大家可以把那个 video cut 掉啊，不，就是说那个 recorder 高掉。我真的很想认识每一个人的，有没有那个机会呢？我这个人，我这个很喜欢跟人家打交道的，特别是年轻的 brain。那我们基本上已经结束了，但是我真的可以不把它算在，你可以把那个 recorder turn off 掉，好不好？然后
OK。
认识其他的这些。